Well, welcome back, everyone. Lights, camera, action. It's Make Our World Your Runway, the weekly show that interviews the most fascinating individuals from the world of modeling, fashion, beauty, business, and even the entertainment industry. And as always, we have a very exciting show planned for you today. But before we begin, we always like to make a few special announcements. And one of the announcements we like to make is we want to thank the sponsors that make this show so possible every week. And that is the Global Trade Chamber, 100 Successful Women in Business, Carlos Avizo Photography, Lux Salon, Clean Beauty Network, the Tower Club, Royal Danes, and Vita Designs. And also we have a new one, Casa Calabria Restaurant. So sponsors, thank you so much for making the show possible every week. And we want to tell all our viewers, remember to subscribe to the Global Trade Chamber YouTube channel so that you can see all the shows from Make Our World Your Runway and Success Stories. And I highly recommend our viewers to tune into Success Stories. This show features the most amazing women in the world of business and community service. From humble beginnings to successful entrepreneurs, these women will totally inspire you. And now get ready for some exciting conferences, speakers, and awards as 100 Successful Women in Business and the Global Trade Chamber are going to come to a city near you. And we are calling all successful women in business because it's time to shine a light on your achievements. Nominate yourself or a colleague for a chance to be honored at our special awards dinner gala in Miami, Florida. And there's going to be an expo, which will be on November the 5th, and the gala is going to be on November the 6th. And it's going to be at the Doubletree Hotel and Convention Center in Miami, Florida. So let's come together to honor the impactful work of women in business and community service. Remember to claim the well-deserved award. Now you need to be present in Miami, Florida at the awards dinner gala to receive the award. So you can nominate yourself or a colleague for the 2025 reception award ceremony. There will also be networking, conferences, business expo, fashion show, and Make Our World Your Runway. We will go live while we are there. So for all this information, please visit the website at www.100swd.com for all the information. Now, this show is free to attend, but if you want to be an exhibitor and you want to be a speaker, you must sign up now. I can tell you, I've been to all these shows. They sell out months ahead. If you want to attend, or you want to be an exhibitor, or you want to be a speaker, you must go to the website, www.100swd.com now for all the information, because I can guarantee you it is probably either sold out or almost sold out. So hopefully we will see you in Miami, Florida in November for the 100 Successful Women in Business Expo and Gala. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have an exciting show planned for you today. And as always, welcome back, lights, camera, action to Make Our World Your Runway. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are on to our show. And as I said, we have a very special guest, and we are so proud of her. Now, my guest was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. She experienced hardship in the beginning, but learned to adapt at an early age. Along the way, she became part of a large extended family with 12 siblings. This actually honored her ability to connect with diverse personalities and thrive in any environment. She has a vast professional background, being the CEO and founder of PayGOV USA, and she also leads a women-owned Fintech Company specializing in modernizing government payment systems. And she also has a drive for innovation, education, and empowerment in every endeavor she undertakes. And also, she just competed at the 2025 Miss International World Pageant, and she won the title of Miss InterModelo World. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome to Make Our World Your Runway, Carmen Santiago-Keenon. Carmen, welcome to Make Our World Your Runway.
Yes, thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, reading your bio, oh my God, you got a diverse background the same way as I do. So tell us a little bit about being the CEO and founder of PayGOV USA.
Yes, well, thank you. Yes, to your point, I do have a very interesting and layered background, if you will. from having to overcome, being in the foster care system. Was very grateful to be adopted by my foster family later on in life, at the age of 22. From having to overcome a lot of different adversities, by the grace of God. I'm sitting here, as you know, I was recently in a car crash almost 2 weeks ago. But with that, I've been very grateful that in spite of the way my life began, that God has always given me the resources, the love, the people, from my grandparents first raising me until I went into the foster care system, all the way through now, even covering me now as I sit here with you, on the cusp of this horrible car accident I was in. And all this to say that it's been an interesting ride, the way that my career has developed. I am someone that, had technical certifications, didn't start out that way. I, didn't go to college. However, I've been able to work with IBM, Microsoft, all the big companies, not only selling their solutions, but working with their business partners, which then led me to starting my newest endeavor, my Fintech Company, PayGOV USA, which is a lean-in. What we are is a financial tech company that brings the finance technology brain coupled with your payments. And the reason why that is important, we also lean in on the public sector. So municipalities, nonprofits, government spaces. We help not only streamline your process, we help with fraud, prevention, cybersecurity, all those things. But then we also have the technical lens to work with your platform, whatever solutions you already have, which is very important when we're talking about technology systems and we're talking about processing any types of payments, right? Especially now as we are entering into a more digital and digitalized era, right, of merchant processing, and to be able to be at the forefront of that is very exciting to me.
Yeah, no, and that's a great service, because I'll tell you why. I had to call my credit card company because they didn't have the right address for me. And I'll tell you now, when you call these credit card companies, they never did this before, but they just started doing this. I mean, they do ask you some pertinent information that they have on file, but now they have to send you a one-time code to your phone. And I'm like, well, we never did this before, but they said there's so much fraud. Yep. They want to make sure that that specific code that they've sent to you, you're going to repeat it back to them. Okay. Yep. And so I can definitely understand that, in fact, one credit card company, they won't even let you pay a bill, either online, and you can't even do it on the phone, the automated system. You actually have to speak to a representative, and you've got to go 3 or 4 security questions before they'll even do it, say anything to you. And once you've answered them, then they'll say, okay, you want to make a payment, and then there's a disclosure. So what you're doing is great, because everything has changed.
Oh, everything is changing. And to your point, so then take that into a bigger space, like when you pay your taxes for the municipality that you live in, right? Or your water bill, or even enjoying the local park with your children. All of that, there's a cost to that through your municipalities that we pay into. So as a taxpayer, what is important to me, understanding not only the tech piece, and when we're dealing with bigger corporations that are taking government funds, and in that space, right, is not only fraud prevention, cybersecurity risk, and compliance, right, but also on the back end, how do we save taxpayers money? How do we go in and look at the process and see what's not centralized? How can we centralize your process, make sure that you're compliant, PCI compliant, fraud, all the things that encompasses, while we also help manage payroll and all those things as well. And so it's very heavy technical pieces to it, while also understanding that the work that we do is very important, because if the municipalities pick if they make the type of choice with their processor that one doesn't understand technology, right? You can't just pick a credit card processor when you're in the municipality government space, because you have that technical lens that needs to be laser focused. But it's also my job to be able to find a way to help save you, a taxpayer, money as well. And really streamline process, look at where are we being inefficient, where can we streamline, and ultimately save you, the taxpayer, money while also giving them the best service,
Right.
that they should be expecting and already have.
Exactly. And it's so funny when you said technology changed, because my husband was in the telecommunications company for 30 years. And has that technology even changed?
Yeah.
What they did back in the 90s and even early 2000s is definitely not the same now. Okay. And they used to have a service called Friend Relay, which was for the companies, meaning that if you were paying for a service and you had to be on longer with a client, you could do this burstable speed, but not pay for it, okay? And it worked with your private lines. They don't even have that anymore. And that saved the customer a lot of money, because once the internet came into play, all of that kind of went by the wayside. So, yeah. So a lot of these companies now are trying to find ways to save money, that if they're going to be on a long distance call overseas, how do they get up to that burstable speed and not be able to pay for it? So it's very interesting, the work that you're doing, because you're helping the client, at the same time you're trying to save them money.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And to your point, customer service to me is a dying art, and it saddens my heart. And so what we're seeing in that space, I'm sure your husband can speak to this as well, is we're seeing a lot of agentic AI agents, like little software bots, right, that are handling the customer service. So whether that pops up as something that you can just go back and forth on your computer, right, to get your service done quickly, or we're seeing it at even bigger scale. So we're definitely in interesting times when it comes to technology, AI, payments, credit card processing, digital payments, right, cryptocurrency. And I think within the next 5 years, it'll be very interesting to me to see how all of these spaces have grown and continue to grow.
Exactly. I mean, everything is AI. You never know sometimes if you're talking to the right person, or it's AI. I've seen it on, on the computer almost every day. Okay.
Yeah.
And even on the computer, we just upgraded, I think it's to Windows 11, and now Windows 12 is coming up sometime in January, February. And we upgraded, and I said to Al the other day, I said, I hate it. He says, why do you hate it? I said, well, they got all these different features now. I said, and I had to change my files, and I said, oh, this is ridiculous. But that is the way of the future. But before we go any further, I do want to congratulate you for coming to the Miss International World 2025 pageant and winning the title of Miss InterModelo World.
Thank you. Yes, that was, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I am so grateful to the organization, to you, the judges, the women, the whole experience. Again, God is so good, because I called you from my hospital bed. So what some of the folks don't know is, through the adversities, I am currently healing from some autoimmune conditions that have led to some other things that have affected my heart. So back in December of 2025, I had surgery to have a loop monitor placed in my chest right above my heart, so I can monitor my heart function. And I'm connected. So I'm AI. I'm a little robotic. I'm connected to my phone on an app, which sends all of the information to my cardiologist and my electrophysiologist and the rest of the teams. But I was in the hospital about a week and a few days before our competition. And I remember calling you from the hospital bed saying, I don't think I can compete. And you were so gracious. You just said, give me some time. Let's see what I can do. And, it was just such a blessing to just be there. So thank you. And I'm still overcome by the experience, meeting these amazing women. Everyone has such a beautiful story and reason why they were there. And to just have the blessing of working so hard through this pageant, because we all worked so hard. It was, as you know, I mean, you worked double as hard as we did, right? Putting this together and the execution of it. But just to be at the finish line and to be able to, see my effort and my fruits come to fruition was amazing. But more importantly, for the platform that God has given me to be able to advocate at a bigger scale and at a global scale for human rights for my board that I sit on, the Autism Hero Project. We just wrapped up our 8-year anniversary this weekend. And, just the opportunities that this can open for the spaces that I advocate for, that was my why. And I'm just so grateful to you and the organization. So thank you.
No, thank you. And, it's so funny because prior to the pageant, of course, I was sick. I had the kidney stone problem. I had like surgeries, one at the beginning of June, then one kind of right after July 4th, and then, before August 1st. So I was like still in a recuperating stage, but I said to myself, I'm going to get out of this bed and I'm going to do this no matter what. Okay. Amen. And I pushed myself and we got it done. And, all you ladies were absolutely fabulous and amazing. And, it's so funny because I told you about the commissioner that was there, Jacqueline Guzman, who's also from Puerto Rico. And I had her on my show a few weeks ago. And just like yourself, okay, she is absolutely amazing. She really gets out there. I did not know she's a 2-time heart attack survivor.
Oh, my word. What are the odds of that? And what a blessing that she has survived and to just be there. Oh, wow. Heart health is so interesting, especially for us women. Well, it's interesting for everybody, but for us women, it shows up differently. And so there are times where where I'm just pushing through because I didn't realize that I was having a heart issue. Because not only as women do we just we wear so many multiple hats, right, throughout the day that we have to manage. And we just kind of power through. But that is something that I'm excited to, and maybe I can speak with her and see if that's something that her and I can partner on, is really speaking about women's heart health, because it's just, and then you throw in hormones and different changes, and it's a lot, but I think it's something that we need to start looking into and understand more because it presents differently for us women. I mean, I've literally gone to the hospital where I just thought I was maybe having a panic attack or anxiety or something, and then being told like, oh no, you were having like little mini I forget what ischemic attacks or whatever they're called. I had no idea. Yes, I just thought I feel weird and this kind of feels like an anxiety attack. Let me go to the hospital. So again, to your point, this is such an important topic, and I'm very excited again to be able to represent, this amazing title and crown and partner with people like, Ms. Guzman and really talk about these issues.
Exactly. And it's so funny because I told her, I said, you're a 2-time heart attack survivor. I'm a 1-time heart attack survivor. I have 3 stents in the LED artery. And the day I had my heart attack, there were signs leading up to it, but I didn't think so because I knew I always had the mitral valve prolapse. And it just happens that my cardiologist was on vacation and I couldn't get into the office to see his assistant doctors. So I thought, okay, maybe this is just a little problem with the valve that I have. And I was on my way up to Disney World. And the pain really started getting bad. And I told my husband, I said, you know what? I need an ambulance. And he looked at me and he said, I think you do. So he called 911 and there was a police officer. In fact, every 4th of July, that's when I had my heart attack. I always tell people, I brought that in with a bang. And I always go see this police officer. It was almost like he was in my husband's trunk. And what a comforting man, because he said to me, he says, no one dies on my watch. And I was like, from here, where this light is here, right to the hospital. We got off the exit. They got me in there. They prepped me. They took me to surgery immediately.
Wow.
My husband signed for it. And the doctor, when he finished, he said, and we waited 30 minutes more, I'd have been gone.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, because that LED artery was at least 90% clogged. I would have had 1 stent, but what happened was the doctor said he went back too far. He put the first one in, he went too far, He said he put the second one in. When he put the third one in, at the base of the artery, he said, boom, everything opened up. He said it was like a flood zone. And the rest was history. And the stents, now that was back in 2007. And normally when you have stents, I constantly have them checked. Sometimes they have to replace them because they do get old. My cardiologist just said to me, he said, I didn't know you had stents. I didn't know you had a heart attack. He said, I would never know you had a heart problem. He said, those stents are working. I don't want to talk too loud. But he said, they're working. He said, and your heart relaxes when it's supposed to relax. He said, it does exactly what it was supposed to. And even this last time that I was in the hospital, that I had to get the tube down my throat because they gave me too much fluid. They called my cardiologist in and he said, no, the heart is strong. He said, there was no heart attack, nothing. He said, it was the lungs that filled up with fluid, but the heart never got touched. So I said, well, somebody was on my shoulder.
What a miracle. But that goes to also show I think people associate heart problems with obesity and having a sedentary lifestyle. And when people look, like I get asked all the time when I'm in the hospital by doctors, are you an athlete? Because my heart rate on a good day is at 40% and it's starting to get lower. So my resting heart rate is dangerously low as well. And my blood pressure. And I'm like, no, I'm not an athlete. And that's why I feel like it's important to have these conversations because you're a thin woman. You're a very thin woman, right? And so again, people would look at you and think, oh, well, I'm sure she's healthy. They would not think that you've had a heart attack and 3 stents and all of these things, which is why it's so important for us to really start talking about how our heart health for women and for everybody in general really presents themselves, for men as well. You know, I've heard stories of men that are running races and extremely healthy that literally die while they're, running because of their heart. But to look at them and their lifestyle is completely healthy. They're vegetarian, they're at the gym, they're doing marathons and all the things. And one day they drop dead because, it went through the wayside because again, we present as active, healthy. We look quote unquote healthy. So people wouldn't think that person is sick or they might have a heart condition. But what a blessing. Yes. I'm so grateful that we were both able to be at the pageant.
That's why we say we have people on our shoulder. And it's true. There's a lot of people out there that, you're right, I'm thin. But you know what? It's hereditary. My entire family has heart disease, okay? We've had several people in my family that have died of a heart attack. Luckily, it skipped my mother, okay, who lived to 94 years old. She had no problems with the heart, okay, thank God. But her sister, her baby sister who's still alive, her brother, which was my uncle, died of a heart attack. Her mother and father, both my grandmother and grandfather, both died of heart attacks.
Oh
my cousin that lives in New York State, his son was born with a hole in his heart. They had to get him into Montefiore Hospital in New York and repair that. He just recently had a heart attack, so it is hereditary. Because the doctor, I've always worked out, same thing, you made that point. I was always in the gym, never smoked, never drank, and here I was, I had a heart attack. And then I look at somebody that'll go to McDonald's every day and they got no problems.
Right.
So, yeah, okay. So it just depends. Like I said, I could look at a hamburger and my cholesterol will probably do this. But you take somebody like my father, all right, and my father did have to go for open heart surgery, but he was 90 pounds soaking wet all his life. Okay, that's what he weighed. Even with all of that, he never had a problem with cholesterol. And he could sit there and eat 3 sandwiches to my half the sandwich. I'm like, Dad, come on. But everybody's body is different, okay? And it just depends if it's hereditary in the family. Yeah, you can get caught up in it. So, but thank God that whatever you've had, you're a survivor. And you can talk about it and inspire other women and other people.
Yeah, and that's really, yes, that will definitely be the hope and the goal is to encourage women to really look at their health, especially their heart health, and let's get a plan in action if we see that we need to do that. But it's better to go and get looked at now, even if there's nothing wrong, right? Just do a maintenance check. Worst case, worst case scenario, you get a red flag and you now have something that you can work on to, try and change it or autocorrect it or whatever that looks like. But I think it really starts with just going in and getting the checkups, because a lot of us only go to the doctor when we're sick, right? When we need it. We don't consider healthcare also as maintenance care. It's more reactionary as opposed to preventative. So how can we move our mindset into understanding that it really is lifestyle? There is hereditary. It is hereditary as well. How do we gather that data and then move forward with an actionable plan, right?
Exactly. And this year that I did the World Games, of course, and that was very important because cancer, especially, and they cover all different types of cancers, not just breast cancer, everything. In fact, I was talking to the woman who's president last night, and she said they're so close to getting that shot, which is like a vaccine that could be used for breast cancer. She was telling me they're so close to that. And in fact, I'm going to their big luncheon on a Thursday. Kelly and myself, we're going to their luncheon on Thursday, and it's amazing the money they raise. But I'm really thinking about doing the American Heart Association next year. Every year we do pick a different charity. So, and I said, and people have said to me, Angela, you should do that for the fact that you could speak about it. You've had your own problems with the heart, and I think you've had those type of problems, and I think it would just be a great way, besides, cancer, educating women on heart problems, because you're right. A lot of people will only go to a doctor when they're sick and don't know that they could have a heart problem that is starting. In fact, they even have monitors on the phone now that you can get and check your heart on a daily basis.
Yes. And that would be a blessing. And actually, maybe something we could even think through is how can we, maybe partner up with them and do something, maybe do like a promotion during Heart Month or even Women's Month, and that's something you and I can maybe talk about as well, is doing some sort of, partnership with them during, that month and really promoting heart health for women.
Yes, promoting heart health, because, they say between the heart attacks and cancer, they're like the 1 and 2 big killers of people, okay? And especially if you got a heart condition and you do get cancer, you got to go through chemo or you got to go through radiation. That does weaken the heart, okay?
Yeah.
My cousin went through that. Thank God, though. He survived all that because he did have a heart condition. He's been in remission now for 6 years. Okay,
wow.
God bless him.
Yeah.
He's been in remission. So I think there's a lot of education out there, and there's probably things that I don't even know. Okay, that if I sat down with someone and say, "Hey, wait a minute, I didn't even know this." Okay, so yeah, I think we're both good examples for what we spoke about.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, and things like that, or it's great education for everyone. Let's put it that way.
It is. And I think now as well, we're seeing a big movement for sober living, which is great, right? And I think it's just, we're in that time and space where people are kind of stopping and awakening a little bit more to not only what's happening around them, but also what's happening inside of them, right? Which is always a beautiful thing, because that's where we grow from. We can't take back the choices we did yesterday. We can't take back choices we even did a second ago, but what we can do is choose to make different choices moving forward. And so I think, if we can really lean in on that, right? And just keep encouraging people to live their best lives, whatever that looks like for them, but I am excited to see this new excitement for more sobriety, for more intentional living, right? What are you, even with myself, because I've had to, over the last 6 years, I'm allergic to most pharmaceutical drugs. And so I have had to really delve into holistic healing, which is very, there's a lot that goes into that, and it's not easy, but I would rather put in the work, learn and implement and help heal myself than to just succumb and just say, oh, okay, well, you're telling me I have this disease, and then just be like, okay, well, I guess I just have this disease. No, I know that I can take autonomy over my health, right? And what does that look like? So for me, I've had to extract a lot of things from my diet, and which isn't fun. A lot of blood work, a lot of working with different types of practitioners, functional medicine, right? Herbs, parasite cleanses, as gross as that it's, sorry, but all these things for your gut health and for things.
Exactly.
And so we can do it. It's the harder path or the more difficult path, but it doesn't always have to be that way, right? Because luckily right now, again, we're in this space where there's so many resources, functional medicine, herbs, like God intended, right?
Exactly.
So
exactly. But anyway, we only got about 5 minutes left. So what would you like to tell our viewers, and what would you like to say to any woman, regardless of age, that would want to get into a pageant and compete?
Oh, great question. And thank you. Well, this is what I would love to leave you guys with. If somebody like myself, who has had to overcome so many things, abandonment, being born addicted to drugs, foster care, being a young mom, having to overcome domestic violence, having to overcome being a gun victim from Chicago, like so many things. And if I can still choose every day to be grateful and thankful, first and foremost, to God, our Father, but if I can make the choice every day to take a step forward, my encouragement is, and my hope is, that your heart heals and your soul hears. You can also. Every day, God gives us a choice which road we want. Choose life or death. I decide to choose life as long as God gives it to me. I've been told recently, it might not be that long, but I say no. I say my Father has me here for a reason, even if that reason is to look in this camera today and encourage you and tell you that the best crown you can wear is the crown that says, I am wonderfully and beautifully made by our Father, our God that loves you. There is purpose and intention for your life. There is grace over your life.
Yes.
And God wants you to live it. And trust me, I am walking through the fire right now in so many ways. I am not going to sit here and tell you life is easy, because it's not. But life gives you an opportunity to choose to live it every day with whatever resources you have. And I'm here to tell you, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And I'm here. Reach out to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on social media handles. I'm happy to connect with you. And I am excited to not only support and promote our wonderful pageant, but also be a resource, however you guys need. And Angela's a resource. And to get back to your question about pageantry, I've actually been having that conversation a lot with women lately. People ask me, why a crown? But to your point, this crown does open a lot of doors. For me, my why, as great as opportunities to do Runway and all that stuff is amazing, and I'm excited for those opportunities. My why is to advocate for human rights. And I do believe that this crown will give me opportunities to not only open door in spaces that I have not been able to walk through yet. And that is extremely encouraging. And I've actually shared with other women, I'm very lucky to have been blessed this is now my second pageant, to have women in my life that carry other titles. And even these titles, we are all doing important work. We are CEOs, yes. We are nonprofit founders, we are doctors, we are lawyers. This has definitely moved from a space of just beauty to really being all encompassing of what a human and woman should strive to be, because our real beauty is our inner beauty. This is just a facade. This opened doors, and I'm very grateful for this. But what matters, to our point, is your heart. Where's your heart? Where's your soul at? Because that's what radiates through you. And that's what truly makes you beautiful. Stand in the integrity of who you are, whose you are, and your values, and moving accordingly every day. I'm not
Exactly.
perfect. I'm not here to say that I am, because that's why I need Jesus. Because every day, but choose to live this life and choose intentionality and choose alignment. And above all else, love your neighbor. Love, 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 because this world needs it. Thank you so much.
Exactly. That's very perfectly said. I mean, I couldn't have done any better. That was very perfectly said. But again, we're so honored to have you with us, to have you in the title. And, anytime you want to come back on the show, you always have an open door. We'll do another segment together. I have a lot of ideas and you've given them to me, that we can work together. But anyway, once again, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and, have a great week. And of course, I'm always going to be in touch. Take care of yourself, because that's the most important thing. Like you said, you've had this accident. Thank God, you're healing. I mean, you've gotten hurt, but, at least you're able to sit up and do a couple of things. So anyway, my dear, once again, congratulations. Okay, keep going, because you're doing fabulous work, and we will stay in touch. And I want to tell all our viewers out there, thank you for tuning in to Make Our World Your Runway. As we always say, it's a great and very exciting show every week. And we want everyone to stay tuned, because next week, of course, we'll be back with another exciting show. So thank you, and have a great week, my dear.
Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed week. And thank you for the blessing of having me on today. Have a great day.